Hello people, today I'm going to be doing multiple movie reviews. That's why it's MMR for the title. These are just movies I haven't gotten around to review. One of these movies I actually saw today. I didn't necessarily want to do a whole video on it, just because it's a very simple movie, and that's the one on the title. That one's Pig. I'm also going to be doing a review of The Tomorrow War, Nobody, and Fatherhood. Nobody and Fatherhood are kind of movies I just didn't have a chance to talk about, so I'm just kind of throwing them in here as well. So yeah, anyways, let's start off talking about Pig. I had no plans on seeing this movie until I saw that 97% Rotten Tomato score. And I saw it had glowing reviews. I was like, do I want to see this? I watched the trailer. I'm like, I just didn't know. And I walked in this movie completely just like, I don't know. And I wouldn't say enjoyed was the word, but I really was fascinated with this whole story, and well, not necessarily story about Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage gave a fantastic performance. Alex Wolff also gave a fantastic performance. Alex Wolff is probably one of the best young actors working to date. He really is. Every single movie he's in, he's just great in. Yeah, the emotional part of this movie, the mental state of Nicolas Cage, everything about his character is the thing that works most about it. And I am not a Nicolas Cage fan per se. I've barely seen any of his movies at all. I'm not a Nicolas Cage guy. I know a lot of people are. And so, I always thought, Nicolas Cage, he signs on to any Walmart DVD movie. And so so when I heard of this movie, I was like, okay, whatever, it's another Nicolas Cage one. But it really did impress me. The emotional part of it is there. Of course, it's as simple as his pig gets stolen, but the emotional journey that he goes on, and particularly at that ending, emotional stakes are high, and it's really like one of those movies you have to pay attention to. Yes, it does drag for the last 20 or so minutes of the movie, and I wasn't saying it was like a drag where I felt like I was being dragged through the mud, like, oh my god, just end it. It was just moments here where at first I was like, felt like it was dragging, but overall, I was glad that I saw it, if that makes any sense. The movie is shot beautifully. The lighting is a little dark. Um, I thought if it was maybe lit up a little bit better, but I do appreciate all natural lighting. And I don't know, and I was kind of iffy about this lighting. I'm like, is it the theater I'm seeing it in? Because I just saw it in a regular AMC theater. I didn't see it in a special format. So I'm like, because most of the time I see movies in Dolby or in IMAX or like in a nice theater, but this is the crappy theater was the only one showing this movie. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll give this a shot. And I wasn't sure if it was the projector, but I'm sure this movie will look great on 4K, and a lot of that maybe darkness won't feel as dark if it even has a 4K release, which I kind of doubt. But yeah, overall, I really did enjoy Pig, and I'm gonna give it, well, like I said, enjoy is not the word. I thought Pig was a great movie. It's not for everyone. For the person I went to see this with was bored out of their mind and gave it a 3.2 out of 10. And so clearly, it's not for general audiences at all. I know it has an 84% on audience score, but I just don't think that's going to be accurate for, like, if they did, like, a cinema score. But yeah, I'm going to give Pig an 8.5 out of 10. Next movie I'm going to be talking about is The Tomorrow War. This movie has been heavily talked about, mostly because of the Rotten Tomatoes score and all Chris Pratt, like, oh, he's religious, oh no. But, yeah, I had tons of fun with The Tomorrow War. I really did. It was tons of fun from beginning to end. The biggest thing holding this movie back is simply as the rules of time travel. And, but there are so many different rules out there. You have the rules that Endgame put in step. You put rules that this movie did. And so, the movie never sets up rules for time travel that well, at least. And so when they do things, you don't know what rules to follow for time travel, where it's like it can almost pick and pull what's convenient, what they want to do with the plot. But the movie, I didn't want it to be numbless action throughout the whole entire movie, and the movie finds a really smart way, particularly for the first 2/3, to keep an emotional core there where you still care about what's going on. And I'm not going to spoil it, but they find a really clever way to do that. And the third act isn't as strong as the first two acts, but and it was still a lot of fun. The CG in this movie is great for a straight to Amazon Prime movie. These monsters, their designs and the CG on them all look really good. The action is just, like I said, so bonkers. Um, and there's a couple of really cool shots in here. I know they gave away like the big one in the trailer, but I didn't see a single trailer for the movie. I just saw the poster and controversy behind it. I was like, I'll just put it on. But I really enjoyed the whole entire movie. Yes, it has some stupid plot elements, but overall, I never expected this movie to have a glowing, intricate, smart plot. And it does borrow from a lot of movies Live, Die, Repeat, or should I call it Edge of Tomorrow. There's a lot of borrowing from that movie, but I really did enjoy The Tomorrow War. It's numbness fun movie, and Chris Pratt is great in every single movie he's in. And I want to give The Tomorrow War a 7.7 out of 10. The next movie I'm going to be talking about is Nobody. I thought this was a fun action movie. The only thing that holds it back for me was just it was so reminiscent of John Wick. It did, and so it was so reminiscent that it almost made the movie a tad bit forgettable for me. But I think the movie just did enough to where I was entertained most of the time. I'm not gonna lie, I thought I don't want to say I didn't ever fall asleep, but I started to doze off with like maybe like towards like the last 15 to 10 minutes of the movie, and I didn't I still followed the whole thing, and so that's why I didn't do a review for it, because I'm like, well, I guess I should watch it again if I kind of dozed off. But I got the general gist of the movie. But I just remember in particular that first 2/3 just felt just so John Wick. And yes, I saw like, oh, this is a fun John Wick like movie, but there's a difference between John Wick like and just simply being John Wick. But John Wick is like seriously one of my favorite action movies of all time, so that's why I'm taking it a little close to heart here. But Nobody did provide, I think, just enough for me to enjoy it the way that I did. Of course, there was those things where I was like, you could do something a little bit more original there. And the action sequences, like, I never thought they got to like John Wick level, but it captured that John Wick feel, not per se I like John Wick feel, but like that pumping through your bloods, fun choreography style. And yeah, I had fun Nobody, even though it had me kind of rolling my eyes at moments. I'm going to give it a 7.2 out of 10. The last movie I'm going to be talking about is Fatherhood. The only reason why I watched this movie is because I could really relate to the movie. And so I saw a couple reviews and they're like, yeah, it was good. And I might be a little bit more critical of this movie simply because of one thing. I just extremely relate to the story, because I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. My Fatherhood is about a mother being absent from this child's life, and Kevin Hart trying to bring up this child, and something I can really relate to, because I was raised by not just my father, but my mother passed away when I was very little, like little to the point where I don't remember her. So it was fascinating to see that concept and the challenges that come with being like a only dad parent. Of course, I know the concept for this is because it's it's a little girl, but I'm a boy, but but a lot of the scenarios stay the same that the movie tried to present. And there's a lot of awkward comedy in this movie. I know it's Kevin Hart in the lead, and he tries to bring his funny moments. It just didn't work at all when they had to try to do a laugh. But this movie constantly almost frustrated me on how, particularly when these are situations are very relatable. And I don't know if it felt more original to these to people that saw the movie and can't relate to the situation that was happening, but I was just so frustrated time after time to see these times. I'm like, oh, I relate to that. How are they going to execute it? And it's just done in the most cliche way possible. Not necessarily cliche. It just felt so like you guys had all this potential of what you guys can do with this fairly relatable concept for me. But it felt very hallmarky. Another big mistake I think this movie made was it started off as the baby, it's a little girl, and then you jump to 6, and I really thought it would have been great if they just had maybe a jump every act, like first act baby, second act, 5, 6, like the kid was for the rest of the movie, and then third act maybe like 14 or 15, and that would have been good. But for the second and third act, the kid's consistently the same age, and there's some really, like, there's a lot of things that the movie tries to do, and there's some things that I think the movie does get right, like the themes of parents getting in a relationship and trying to make it work and trying to keep the kid number one. That's a really relatable theme. I think they did a good job tackling that. It's just there's a lot of other things where I'm like, that could have been handled a little bit better because of how much I could relate to the situation. So it was like really a love hate. Like, I like what you did here, but here it was just so cliche to me. And it's just I just saw a lot of potential with this movie, and of course I shouldn't have been expecting the world from it, but I probably did get a little too excited because I really related to it at first. And so like I'm half disappointed, but yet I'm like, why am I surprised that this movie was as mediocre as it was? So yeah, I'm gonna give Fatherhood, what I give it I wrote it down on Letterboxd. I believe I gave it a 5.3 out of 10. So yeah, those are my multiple movie reviews on here. I'm feel bad that I didn't do a full video for Pig, because I just had all four of these movies I want to talk about. I haven't talked about them yet. So yeah, comment down below what you guys thought of these movies if you guys saw any of them. But yeah, tomorrow I plan to be watching the Fear Street movies. Well, not to necessarily either within tomorrow to either tomorrow or next week. I'll be watching the Fear Street movies. I'm excited to check those out, and I do plan on checking out the Forever Purge fairly soon. And Old I will be seeing in theaters this Friday. So yeah. Anyways, that's all I got to say for this. So like, share, subscribe, and stuff like that, and adios.